Hello, I'm Choopy Choosy, back in the clack, here to inform you of a great game, Lord Monarch Online E. A game that currently provides me with extreme levels of mirth, purpose, and a general sense of childlike wonder. If you find yourself missing any of these qualities in your life, chances are Lord Monarch Online E isn't actually going to fix that. But for me, a stifled content creator on YouTube who's struggling to find things to talk about on their declining channel, I've at least convinced myself that it does. Did I mention that this game is free? Lord Monarch Online E is a real-time strategy game by legendary Japanese game developer Nihon Falcom, the same company behind the wildly popular Trails series. These games are shitty because I've never played them. Lord Monarch, on the other hand, is not just a game I've actually played, but it also carries the accolade and historical clout of being one of the first real-time strategy games ever made. The game even predates the seminal and affluent RTS classic, Doom 2, a game that's constantly cited as a major influence in the genre. Nobody cites Lord Monarch Online E as a major influence, and that's probably because the game is really fucking weird. But being weird isn't necessarily a bad thing, is it? The slogan, "Keep Austin Weird," was intended to promote local business and a greater sense of community pride. It isn't fundamentally duplicitous because it institutionalizes the concept of being different and therefore being weird is not really being weird at all. If that's the case, then the word weird is just a term of ignorance towards people and concepts you don't agree with. No, the word weird can sometimes mean good. And in Lord Monarch Online E's case, weird means great. Let me show you footage of a woman who poops in a bucket to encourage you not to watch, but listen to this video as you scroll down to the description and open up a new tab to the link I've graciously provided you, which leads to Falcom's Lord Monarch Online E's free download page. While you're scrolling, you might as well subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I mean, it's right there either way, I'm just saying let's work together. The first thing you'll notice from this beautifully preserved slice of 1997 HTML is a query. Have you ever played truly enjoyable computer game? I'm guessing at this point you're probably laughing or generally belittling the question. Everyone does. But how about you shut the fuck up and actually think about it for one goddamn second? Well, have you ever played truly enjoyable computer game? Yeah, that's what I thought. Download the file DS7E.zipcom. You can also download the manual, but don't bother. If you watch this whole video and subscribe, of course, you won't be needing it. To be honest, you don't even need this video either. You see, the objective of Lord Monarch Online E is the same objective of any real-world race, religion, species, or ideology, and that is to procreate and dominate this Earth. The very same part of your brain you would use to determine which partner would be the most sufficient vessel to bear and carry your seed is the same part of your brain you'll use to be successful in Lord Monarch Online E. Like every strategy video game ever made, the gameplay has very little to do with actually playing strategically, and everything to do with exploiting poorly programmed enemy AI. Once you push the start button, the game basically plays itself, with units automatically clearing land and building bases until one allegiance dethrones all the others. The more bases you have on the map, the faster you can accumulate funds and units. As the player, you have two mechanisms indirectly influencing your global strategy. The first is the speed meter, which will greatly alter the pace of gameplay. It ranges from to I won! The breadth of control you have over your game's speed is incredibly robust, and one of the main reasons this game is still so playable today. It might seem pointless to play a game that essentially plays itself, especially when doing nothing can easily net you a victory on the first few levels. However, completing these maps in as few days as possible will be advantageous to you in the long run. If you play efficiently in the earlier maps, the days you save before the time limit ends will carry over to the next map. Kind of like rollover minutes. Remember rollover minutes? Me neither. I'm 17 years old. Don't believe me? Send me your address and I'll prove it to you. The second meter you have control over is the tax rate. The further left this meter is, the faster your bases will spawn units, and the further right this meter is, the more funds you'll accumulate. Without funds, you can't build the 3 Bs: bases, bridges, and barricades. And without units, you can't do anything. Finding the right balance to fit your global strategy may seem stressful at first, but the game provides you with an auto tax button, which will adjust the tax rate accordingly and automatically, so you can focus on micromanaging your units. Or maybe just other things. Moving your mouse on the map will automatically pause the game, making it very easy to view individual units. This is a great opportunity to study the unit window. This displays a unit's strength, what action they're performing, and the terrain type of whatever your cursor is currently hovering over. Just like in real life, strength is the only thing that matters. When a unit spawns, the amount of strength it has is determined by the territory around its base, ranging anywhere from 15 to 140. Unless a unit is directly standing over a base of their color, they will continually lose strength until they die. Units of the same color that cross paths will reinforce each other, creating a new singular unit that combines both of their strength stats. Units have altered map appearances depending on how much strength they have. This is an intuitive way for the player at a glance to distinguish who on the map is weak and who is, as I endearingly call it, a chonker. If a unit converges with an enemy, they will engage in battle, depleting each other's strength stat until one unit is victorious. While all of your units will act on their own to expand your territory, you can still manually give an individual unit orders. You're also able to click, drag, and select multiple units at once. Once selected, the unit will display an exclamation mark above their head, meaning they're ready for you to choose a destination and an action to perform when that destination is reached. Let's go over all the actions a unit can perform. Understanding how commands affect unit behavior is key to mastering this game. Standby will stop a unit from performing any action and just chill until given a new command. Auto will have the unit go back to its default behavior and act on its own to expand your territory. The only thing units on autopilot cannot do is build or dismantle bridges and barricades. Defend. This is basically the same thing as standby, but the unit will also build a base at the destination. Nearby allies who pass by will be more likely to reinforce this unit. Reinforce. This command will send the unit to combine their strength with another unit. This has some utility over previous commands in that it will track and follow the target unit, even if they're moving. Build. This command will build a base at the desired location. Building bases costs a unit 200 strength and 100 funds. Units with less than 200 strength can still build bases, but they will die after they're finished with the task. If followed up with standby, the unit will stay idle on the base. If followed up with continue, the unit will keep building bases until it runs out of cleared land, funds, or dies. Build bridge. This will tell a unit to build a bridge in order to reach new territory. Dismantled bridges can be rebuilt at the cost of 2 funds per point of defense, usually about 200 funds. This action can also be used to build new bridges on water tiles. Creating new bridges is something that the enemy cannot do, but it comes at the cost of a hefty 3,000 funds. At the start of every map, you have 5,000 funds and a relatively powerful 200 strength unit. There will be many advanced situations where you're going to need to consider expediting those resources to get a strategic foothold at the start of the map. Clear land! This turns uncleared land like forests into cleared land where you can build bases and barricades. Following up with continue will have the unit seek out more unclear land until all land is cleared or until that unit dies. Dismantle. This will dismantle a bridge, preventing units from traversing that space. If following up with continue, the unit will keep fortifying the defense of that space continuously, making it much more difficult for enemies to reassemble it. Make sure that if you devote a unit to keeping a bridge dismantled, that they're planted firmly on a base. Otherwise, they'll lose strength and die. You cannot have 2 bases built directly adjacent or diagonal to each other, so sometimes the destroy command is needed to clear one base so you can build another in a more strategic defensive position. Following up with continue will have the unit seek and destroy the nearest set of enemy bases. Barricade! This is the same concept as dismantle, except a barricade can be placed on any cleared piece of land. Barricades that block physical access to bases will also cut off their ability to generate funds for their castle. If following up with continue, the unit will keep fortifying the defense of the barricade continuously. Clear path is the command for destroying barricades. The last command is seal cave. This will destroy the spawn points of monsters. Monsters are units which have no allegiance. They're essentially free agents and will wander the map aimlessly, destroying anything in their path. They're not threatening by themselves, but just like regular units, they have the potential to reinforce themselves over time and wreak some serious havoc. Monsters aren't able to destroy barricades or rebuild bridges, so use that knowledge to manipulate the destructive power of these units to your advantage. Following up the seal cave command with continue will have the unit seek out and seal all caves on the map until the unit dies. For consistency and clarity of this guide, I've been focusing on just the first level of this game. However, as you advance, you might notice the themes of the maps changing, from a post-apocalyptic clash of artificial intelligence to being a franchisee of Weeb Burger. These are all just cosmetic. While they do look different, the maps all follow the same set of established rules. Unfortunately, the command menu also changes with each theme. It's kind of cute, but it's mostly just annoying, especially since some of the terms used make absolutely no sense in context to the action they perform. To alleviate the potential confusion this can cause, I usually have a screenshot of the menu from the medieval theme open for reference, since the sequence of commands is always the same, even if the names for them aren't. There is one more unit in this game, the most important and special unit in this game, and that unit is, wait for it, huge! Isn't that just so cool? Doesn't that satiate your misogynistic power fantasy in a world where you're constantly reminded of how you have no actual control over your life and how it feels like you're always relegated into making choices that satisfy other people's needs before your own? I think so. Today, you are the leader of Greenland. As the leader unit, your strength is dependent on your population and territory, meaning that as your influence of the map grows, so does your destructive power. And you'll want to use that power, because when you send your leader into enemy lines, they will absolutely decimate anything in their path. On top of all this, enemies will never use this mechanic, always keeping their leader on their castle. So it's really one of the biggest advantages you have over anyone else. However, there are caveats to getting your hands dirty, which definitely turns the leader into a weighted risk-reward mechanic. Just like normal units, the leader will constantly lose strength if not on a base of their own color. But unlike normal units, if your leader dies, it's game over. If you're off your castle, you won't gain any funds from taxes, and the game will act as though your tax rate is 0. This may not seem like that big of a deal since, if you're playing offensively, you want as many units on the field either way. However, the leader unit can only attack. They cannot build or destroy terrain. So if you have no funds and an enemy decides to block the path back to your castle, which they will do, you're fucked! Just make sure wherever you send your leader off to, the potential for them to be locked out is small, or you have enough funds built up so that another unit can rebuild a blocked bottleneck. I also highly recommend you take advantage of the incredibly lenient save feature, which charitably lets you save and load your progress at any time with no penalty to your score. If you're sending your leader to overthrow an enemy castle, which is often the most efficient way to clear a map, just keep in mind that guarding a castle quadruples a leader's strength. This game will give you a warning message if you target a unit that may kill you, but I've found that this message pops up even in situations where I ultimately come out victorious. As long as you have over 4 times the strength of the target when you're on their castle gates, you should be fine. And once again, you can always reload a previous save if your strategy backfires. I always enable these pop-up status windows. They give a detailed numeric display of every kingdom's stats and standings, including the leader's strength. Knowing how strong you are relative to the enemy is absolutely key to timing an effective strategy, so you can be the tenacious tyrant you've always secretly wanted to be. However, if you do wish to take a more pacifistic approach to dominating the Earth, before starting the map, you can form an alliance with one other country, so long as they have equal or less starting territory than you. This is a great tactic if you find yourself flanked at the start. It can really take the pressure off you early game when you're trying to build a foothold. Just keep in mind, even if you form an alliance, the ultimate objective is still to destroy every race that isn't you. But just like the concept of pacifism itself, it's at least a nice thought. Hashtag time's up for white land. By the way, I'm not racist for using terms like black land or white land. That's what this game calls them. If anything, this game is racist. Not me. I'm not racist. And that's everything you need to know to enjoy this fantastic Lost Classic. You'll find as you progress through all 15 stages, the game will constantly test your ability to adapt and utilize its mechanics. If you find yourself stuck in any of the stages, I provided a playlist of gameplay solutions that might help you. If you end up falling in love with this game like I did, I highly recommend going out of your way to buy Lord Monarch Original and Pro. This package is available on DSL's site for about $3. While Lord Monarch Online E is a great starting point, these entries take the game to a whole nother level with more themes, maps, music, and sound effects. Now that's what I call kawaii, bro. While these games are Japanese only and untranslated, don't let that dissuade you from the ultimate Lord Monarch experience. They run on the same engine and use the same format of menus as Lord Monarch Online E. If you have a reference image, all the menus are just as accessible to navigate. These are some of my favorite games of all time. They're also some of the least documented online, so I feel very privileged to share such a hidden gem with y'all. Open your hearts and fortify your borders, and maybe you too will go from being just a Lord to a Lord Monarch Pro. If you're considering getting a tattoo just for a cringy ham-fisted conclusion to a YouTube video, don't. Respect your body. Stay pure. And speaking of pure, these patrons! Thank you guys for sticking with me in your continued patronage and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Shout out specifically to those who helped me during the private editing streams for this video, including Potsy, Miss Peacock Hands, Kelly Ann, Ken Kawachi, Dick Doug, and Jacobra. You know, one thing I didn't touch on in this video is this game's amazing soundtrack, the majority of which was composed by present-day coordinator of Falcom, Meiko Ishikawa. While I do enjoy the Windows 95 chill MIDI aesthetic, the stuff that I recommend checking out is from the original PC 98 OST, as well as the numerous vocal arrangements Falcom put out during that time. Trust the Choopster, your ears will thank you. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me on another quest to discover the mysteries of the emblem. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, y'all, stay frothy.